Hey guys, my name is Matthew, and today we're talking about 5 books that have been legitimately influential in my life. Here we go. I read a lot of books. Most of them I read for entertainment value. It's a form of escapism, and I enjoy being entertained. A lot of people will binge watch shows or video games or whatever, and I do those things occasionally too as well, but I really enjoy reading books. By far and away, the most books that I read are fiction books, although I also find a lot of value in reading nonfiction books for gaining new information and growing as a human and just overall expanding my mind. To be honest though, most books come and go and I don't ever think about them again. That's the vast majority of books. There's a level at which maybe that's the fault of the book or maybe that's the fault of me, a discussion for another day. But these books, the 5 books on my list, I read between 2 and 4 years ago, and all 5 of them have had an actual real impact on my life. They've changed the way that I live. I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to see some of these books. You may have seen some of them before. I bet you have not read all 5 of them. Let me know in the comments which of these books you've read before. Without further ado, I'm going to jump into these books, tell you what I really liked about them, tell you how they impacted my life, and then move on to the next. The first book is called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, and it legitimately changed my life. Now, there are sections of this book that are hard to read through because there are descriptions, scientific descriptions of different things, and he walks kind of painstakingly through tons of research that he personally has done and research that other people have done as well. But this book cemented in my mind the importance of sleep. It's something we've heard our entire lives, but the abundance, the vast abundance of research studies that show not only why is sleep important, but how it affects us, the specific ways that not getting enough sleep affects us, and the way that it impacts our minds, our bodies, our relationships, our ability to drive. Like everything is affected by sleep or the lack thereof it. And I thought it was profoundly interesting, but it actually legitimately changed the way that I sleep and the way that I think about sleeping, not only for myself, but for my kids and for the people around me. It made a huge impact on me, and honestly has saved me hours and hours of sleep and guilty feelings surrounding sleep. I used to be one of those people who felt guilty if I slept in, or felt guilty if I overslept, or if I missed my alarm or whatever. Now I don't use an alarm. I literally don't need to. I would literally wake up just fine without an alarm and it wouldn't be a problem. Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker is an easy recommendation for me. It really is a great book. If you can get through all the tedious research, it might be easier to listen to this book than to try and read it. The next book may feel a little bit like a fad to you because everyone's into the Enneagram right now, but I really enjoyed The Road Back to You. The format of this book kind of gives a long intro that kind of gives you a general overview of each of the different Enneagram numbers, and then each chapter about each individual Enneagram has a small quiz at the beginning of it. I have actually used this book probably a dozen or more times to help people find their Enneagram numbers, and it has been really useful. The little quiz that comes at the beginning of each chapter has 20 descriptions of who an Enneagram number 1, what that person would do, or what their behavior's like, and why would they act that way. And it's really useful to walk through those questions with people and help them to figure out what their Enneagram number is. For me, finding out what my Enneagram number is, a 7 if you're wondering, was really actually profoundly impactful on me and understanding why I do a lot of the things I do and helping me to work through some of my past traumas as well. Some people find that the Enneagram is not really their cup of tea, and that's fine. I don't think it's for everyone. It's a tool that could be useful for you though. And if you're interested in the Enneagram at all, I really recommend this book that lines it out pretty well, and kind of shows you what each Enneagram number is about and how you might behave if you were that Enneagram number. The next book on my list, I love The Techwise Family. This is a book that's specifically geared towards parents trying to figure out how do you navigate technology in this kind of new world for us, but it was actually deeply impactful for me in a lot of ways. There are a lot of really great ideas in here. I loved some of the ideas surrounding night and day and the original kind of Jewish concepts surrounding those things. I really enjoyed some of his opinions on what technology is doing and how we should approach it. I don't agree with everything in the book, but the book was really impactful for me in actually reorganizing my life and the way that I rest in my life. This book was also helpful for me in creating some values for myself, things that I consider important for me and also for my family, and really helped me and my wife to be able to structure our days, structure our years, and kind of help us to figure out, hey, what do we want to do? How do we look forward into the future and think well, not even about technology, but just about our lives? There's some interesting things in this book about technology and how we interact with it. I found more value in Andy Crouch's kind of discussion about how he runs his family and thinking about, what do we want to do that's different than him? What do we want to do that's similar to what he's doing? And how do we kind of take some of those ideas and implement them into our own lives? The next book on my list is unabashedly Christian. It's called You and Me Forever. It's by Francis Chan, and it's kind of marketed as a marriage book. It kind of is a marriage book, but it's really about passion in really following Christ. And I really appreciated the book. This book has actually been impactful for me in my life because it was the book that inspired me to uproot my family and go to England for a year. So it's definitely had a huge impact on my life. It has changed our lives in a lot of ways, but I think for the better. And there were some really profound things in there, some really interesting thoughts. I really encourage and often buy this book for newly married couples and oldly married couples, honestly. We've sent out, I don't know how many copies of this book to people, just because we think it's a really important book. It was important for us in our marriage, me and my wife, and we think that other people could get a lot from it as well. So actually, we've been sending out the book, and there's a little workbook that goes with it. Both of those things are really useful, and we've really enjoyed being able to send those things, but also the impact that it had in our lives. Lastly on this list, and hopefully a book you've heard of, is The 4-Hour Workweek. This book has a lot of stuff in it. A lot of it is totally not applicable to today's time at all. There are a lot of ideas in Tim Ferriss's book. It is Tim Ferriss, right? It is. There are a lot of ideas in Tim Ferriss's book that are outdated, that applied when he wrote the book originally, and maybe even applied as an updated version, but it doesn't make sense for him to keep updating it because they don't really apply so much anymore. Instead, this book was inspirational for me, not educational in the sense that I couldn't just follow the steps that he lays out, but it's inspirational in thinking about what it is that I want from my life in a more financial way and a career-oriented way, and it has inspired me to do so many things. It's inspired us to set up lots of passive income in our lives. That's been really important. There's real estate stuff that we've done largely because of books like this one, but this book in particular. And even this YouTube channel was largely, not this YouTube channel originally, but the one that we did before, I'll link to it if you're interested, was inspired by this book. And so the 4-hour work week, I don't work a 4-hour work week. I work many more hours than that. And I think most people do as well. But the ideas in this book help you to think about, hey, what is it that I really want from my life? Do I really want to work a standard 40-hour week life for my entire life so I can eventually get to retirement when I'm maybe too old to enjoy it? Or do I want to think about my finances and my career and figure out what it is that I actually want from life? So this book is very impactful for that. And I think someone who hasn't read books like this one before would get a lot out of it. So these are the 5 books that have been very impactful for me in the last several years. Let me know which of these books that you enjoyed, that you've read before, which ones you're most interested in, and if you want me to make more content like this. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, feel free to like and subscribe. And as always, stay safe out there.